It's not every day that I'm proud to be happy about a game shutting down that in the process killed the company who made it, took roughly 8 years to make, and $200+ million. I'm usually really nice and happy, guys. But Concord is an interesting case. Never have I ever seen such a mess in one game, and I hate it. It was hyped up to be the next big thing in the gaming world. This was the answer to all your needs in life, but not only was it one of the most unoriginal feeling games out there, somehow came up with the roster of the ugliest characters ever imagined. I truly feel that even Stephen King has nightmares about these entities, and it falls into a trap that all too many games have been a victim of, the curse of the Disney aesthetic. But guys, I hate Concord, and this is why. Now I'd like to start with the gameplay. As the devs said, quote, "But we set out to make it play like nothing else out there." Lie counter number 1. Ding ding. Concord's gameplay is very bland and repetitive. The general speed of the players is boring at times. I want to be happy when I kill someone gliding down from greater heights, but then I remember that they're really slow and it's not much to be happy about anyway, so I get sour again. It's much slower than most of the games that are actually doing well out there. Concord just feels grounded, and that's the last thing you want in a video game. Every fight really breaks down to 2 people shooting at things and maybe a few abilities in there. There's no real movement that makes things spicy like Apex Legends. Give me a chance and I'll wall jump over you, land, do a slow crouch spam tactic while shooting. Now that is cool. And I never even use an ability or ultimate. I have freedom to mix things up and make it cool. Concord is far from that. Take out all the abilities and it's just some shooting at things. It doesn't have any flair to your average gunfights. Just, oh yay, I killed something, on to the next. At least with Apex Legends, even if I don't use it, I have the freedom and capability of pulling something cool off. Concord took about 8 years to make, so this is very disappointing. Not only is it lacking in the average gunfight or battle, but it has a very unoriginal feel to it. Now, this idea is actually really big, and it's clear that Firewalk was going for more of a gritty space world, but it just doesn't land with us. I'll get to why I failed exactly to capture that vibe later on in the video. But do you ever get the feeling that you're playing like a Steam game? There's just a feel to it. It's hard to explain, but I'm sure we all know it. It feels like a Steam game. You know when it's a Steam game. It tries to be something bigger than it actually is. It tries to go overboard with the animation, specifically the gun in your hand, but it all still feels grounded. They've got sound effects for every little thing that happens, and it's all these little clean little things like just stop, ew. I'm gonna play you just a couple seconds of gameplay from both Concord and Overwatch 2. You decide what sounds better.
Targeting the medic! Through! Healing pads right here! Hang on, gotta heal.
While Overwatch 2 may not be perfect, their sounds are clean, concise, and match the situation. Concord's seem over the top, too exaggerated, and way too many of them. Every little thing has a bunch of these little sounds. It's just like, let us breathe, jeez. But it's a common feature in the Steam games. The reliance of sound effects, something that's a lot cheaper to invest in over visual effects or overall graphics. Overwatch and other bigger games have a different mix of the two. Overwatch uses all kinds of different sounds, but it's never too much or too exaggerated because there's a balance between sound and visual input. While it may not be a bad thing, it takes away from the feel of this being a 8-year in the making game. The best little analogy I've got is cranking up the sharpen on a picture or something like that. It may look cool and edgy to high quality to some, but it's just not appealing to most because it looks cheap. Now let me start this section off with a little quote from Ryan Ellis, Concord's game developer. "We're taking a different approach to character selection and role definition. We wanted to build a game where players can choose the characters they want to play and have those be viable in the combat space." What if I hate every single one of these suckers with the same passion and flame that I hate mosquitoes? And that's saying something. I hate mosquitoes. I have so much to say here. First of all, why are these characters so bland? Like color palette wise, most of them are lacking, and overall character design wise, just several look like the designer gave up the ghost on shift. Roka is one of the worst. Why does it look like I'm still waiting for the rest of her costume to render? Oh, silly me, it's just my slow PC. Nope, that's just her design. Her color palette is super bland too. There are tons of perfect examples of pulling off earthy, unsaturated, gritty color palettes for characters. Boba Fett is a perfect one. I mean, it's amazing. Pale reds, dull greens, lifeless golds, and it all works. He looks amazing. Roka looks like poo-poo. Big, pale, bland poo-poo. Why is Lennox genuinely a horror to look upon? I'm sorry, I'm gonna go off a little bit on this guy. Nothing about this thing is appealing. I turn my head and clear my mind every time I see it. Why does his face look like this? They could have done something awesome, but instead we get this constipated freak. My lawyer actually advised me not to read the script on this part, so I'm gonna skip this. Nice try, Garnet, I see you. One off? First of all, okay, it's actually like impossible to not make up a cool robot design for a video game. There are just so many cool directions and ideas they could have taken it. Instead, they chose to make him look like Jabali from T3 Arena, an actually good game. I mean, it's a mobile game, but still. Every step of the way, Concord falls short of actual imagination, somewhat decent designs, or even half-decent color palettes. Let's take my favorite character from Modern Combat Vs, Monarch. He already has a much cooler and appealing color palette, and this is a stinking mobile game. And the crazy part is that whenever there actually is any creativity with the characters, it's so stupid. I mean, it's just stupid. Again, why is Garnet in this game? Why does she have this hair? You're not in Chromacopia, stop trying to pull something cool off. This failed. What are these glasses? Why do they exist? Was the mental state of the designer up to the legal standard to be employed while designing this? Actual question. For being 8 years in the making, Concord is seriously lacking in imagination or even half-decent designs, but anytime a bit of light shines through, just a drop of creativity makes it to us. It's in the weirdest ways possible. Most of these characters look like either someone got carried away on the Mass Effect 3 character customization, or the devs just pressed randomize. It's Z, are you kidding me? What is Seer doing here? Kips? Kipes? What even is this? Concord hasn't actually defined what it is. The devs haven't walked the streets of their own city before. They haven't filled in the scenes of the lore, they haven't created a true world. Elden Ring did, Death Stranding did, Mass Effect did. And it's hard to design characters for a world that hasn't been truly defined or explored yet. To be fair, it is not easy doing this. It takes time of genuine love for the world to fully create the world. Now, to bring this all back to the main quote, these are supposed to be characters that I want to play as. But I don't. None of this interests me in the slightest. For a game who so heavily invested in diversity and inclusivity, it's strange that there's no one here who I want to play as. Shouldn't you have every side of the board covered when diversity is what you're basing your game off of? Well, I'm not the only one who didn't have a place in this game. Again, disappointing, Concord. Now, on September 5th, something interesting was revealed. Amanda Kiefer, the senior concept artist for Concord, tweeted out and claimed that, quote, "A lot affected the art side of Concord, including design by committee, failure of some leadership to listen to the art team, etc." Very interesting. She also mentioned how many of the other concept designers are leaving the game industry and art as a whole because of this project, and that she is worried sick for her future. I've done some research, but not a lot is truly known about what was going on behind the scenes. But that doesn't mean that Garnet should be here though. Another important feature of a video game, yeah, but an FPS, is the UI, or the user interface. It's the health bar, the abilities, the maps, the ultimates, the stats, stuff like that. It's important because it's on our screen always, and we see it and rely on it constantly. It plays a big role in our games and how we play. Now, what if it's just ugly? Again, for the game that was 8 years in the making, this is just ugly. What is this abnormally long, weirdly colored line across my screen? Again, it feels like a Steam game, not the face of a game setting new standards for the industry. It's just weird. And again, the general feel and tone of the game is strange. It's fallen into a trap that I've seen way too many video games and the video game industry as a whole, but also media in general, fall into. The Disney effect or aesthetic. I'm coining that. I mean, I just made that up right now. Everything feels like it's tailored for kids now, and I'm not talking about family friendly or even rated for everyone. I'm talking about a kid aesthetic for everything. Since I heard about Concord way before it launched, it reminded me of, in ways, Space Lords, a game that I have way too many hours on. I freaking love this game. It has a similar world, strange characters. Of course, Space Lords did everything way better than Concord, and I mean way better. But to be fair, it was rated M and had the freedom to be a grittier world and game, but that doesn't mean that Concord didn't have a choice when it comes to this dialogue.
We were apart for so long, I thought I'd never feel your fiery embrace again.
That's hot sauce, you nincompoop. This is just not made for us. It takes away from the I want to call it integrity of the world or characters when you know that no matter what Lennox says or what he's been through in his past or how much he's lost, he's borderline sexually attracted to hot sauce. You see what I'm saying? I can't take this world seriously when characters interact like this.
Research.
Being really old and almost dying a bunch doesn't count as research.
Almost dying is the best way to learn how not to die. Besides, it worked, didn't it?
On top of it feeling cheap, grounded, boring, and unoriginal, on top of a, I can only guess, failed attempt at a super inclusive character roster, I still somehow felt left out and unincluded. And I don't ask for much. I've got a combined few thousand hours on a monkey, an old guy with no shoes, flying lesbian, death robot, hardcore family girl, edgy edge shadow lord number 2, pick me electro girl, random Spartan, and a hamster. I don't have high standards. Concord is not only amazing at hyping itself up to be something special, but also alienating its audience and coming off as a bland, unoriginal, grounded, and repetitive game, which it is. And I'm happy it's gone now. I have to ask, where did the $200 million+ go? Where did those 8 years go? What happened to this mess? Did Firewalk really need to get shut down over this? With as much focus as Firewalk put into the characters, and each one with their special pronouns, I can only assume that this isn't the game, it's a message, and that's clear. And whenever you allow your game to become a message, no matter what the message is about, it's no longer an art. Mass Effect is an art. Fable is an art. Red Dead Redemption is an art. Dragon Age is an art. Concord is a message. They are not the same. Well, what do you think? To be honest, I pray for the employees of Firewalk because all too many of these people never had a say in where the game was going and they were just doing their jobs. And with how crazy the gaming industry is right now, finding work in that field is a struggle to say the least. Reading Amanda Kiefer's Twitter posts about being worried sick and terrified for the future as she will suffer the consequences of decisions from people who can't lose their jobs. Sony America, I'm looking at you. It's eye-opening. So keep them in your thoughts. A machine is made up of many little pieces. But what do you think of the game? And what do you think of my thoughts on the game? I want to hear down below. I love you guys. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And remember, life is short. Play great games. This game has been fixing our keyboards and monitors for years now, but that doesn't mean the game hasn't gone through controversy, terrible updates, changes in development team, sequels that we never asked for that only brought more controversial charges. Name it, Overwatch has been through it. From its glory days of mid-2016 to 17 to the slow death of the game